many of us here in this room. Okay. So Mary Lee LaBay is a certified clinical hypnotherapist, past life regressionist, and spiritual coach with over 30 years of experience. She has helped thousands of soulful seekers discover their purpose and transform their lives. Mary Lee teaches her signature hypnotherapy and past life regression methodologies to holistic practitioners to help them facilitate similar breakthroughs for their clients. So please welcome Mary Lee LaBay.
Thank you, Jody. Can you hear me back there? Okay. Thank you. And thank you for to all of the board members and volunteers that made this happen today. It's been a really good event, don't you think? Have you been learning things? Yeah. All the great instructors. So I had a client come into the office and she wanted so bad to get into a relationship and, you know, said, can you please help me? I'm struggling with this. I'm in, I think it was early 40s. And she said, you know, I've had a string of bad relationships and I know that I'm blocking myself. Even though I really want this, I know that I'm blocking. And she said, the issue is I can't trust men. And so, sorry, guys. I know, right? So can't trust Don. No, can't trust men. And so I took her in. So I took her into regression, and this is a technique that I use, but I'm sure you all know regression. And so here's what I did with her. And so I'm going to have you go through it with me. All right. So maybe it's not a trust issue, but I want you to think about a relationship you had that went wrong, that was bad. Anybody here not have one of those, right? Either you've lived in a convent or you've had one of these. So think of a relationship, you know, typically it's going to be romantic, but it could be a friendship relationship as well. But think about that, all right? Think about that person and close your eyes for a minute. And I want you to think back to the very first moment that you met that person. And if you had been fully aware and balanced, if you had really paid attention, at what point would you have had all the information you needed in order to know that it would not go well, that it would end poorly? Okay, you can open your eyes. What did people come up with?
I mean,
yeah, like how, at what point did you know, if you had really paid attention and maybe, you know, avoided the relationship, I suppose, at what point would you have known that maybe this isn't the right guy or woman guy?
I think like first couple dates, you know.
Yeah, 1 or 2 dates. How about anybody else?
8.5 years.
8.5 years before you figured out the signals? Okay, we got to work on you. Who else? Yes, Esty.
During the wedding.
Oh no. oh no, no. Was it a shotgun wedding? Chris, did you have an answer?
Unfortunately, mine was a sociopath and was able to cloak some of her behaviors quite well for a couple of months.
Okay, a couple of months. So typically when I've done this with a client, they say within the first date or the first phone call, the first introduction, that they, if they had really not made excuses, right, and not blinded themselves. And typically what'll happen is they'll think, well, I'm so old, nobody else will love me. I'm not worthy of a better relationship, or this is one that women use a lot. I don't know about men, but he'll change because I'm special. Anybody did that one? He'll change. Yeah. Yeah. I'm special. And yeah. So what had happened, we in this case with the client, I usually go back to 2 or 3 because, if she's got trust issues, am I getting a lot of feedback? Oh, it sounds okay. I can just hear it here. Because she has the trust issues, obviously there's been some ongoing. In fact, she had said, there've been three or more relationships and they had all end poorly. And so that is what informed her and created her belief system, right? So her hurt feelings created her axiomatic belief that men can't be trusted. So axiomatic beliefs are those foundational core beliefs, and we all have them. All right, and from that axiom, we will build our philosophy, our values. It informs us when we're making decisions. It'll, be the basis of our philosophy. And unfortunately, most people build those on emotions like she did, right? So she had a negative emotional experience and then formed her value or her perspective of life, or in this case of men. And with a healthy, in a healthy psychology and a healthy perspective, we want to create those values, that philosophy, our core understanding of who we are and our ethics, and then of course our politics that follow from our ethics based on reason and objective reality, aligning ourselves with reality. And emotions are to follow that. They're not supposed to be in the lead. All right. Our emotions are a response to our experiences, based on our philosophy and our values. We have those first. And we'll notice, and if you think back or you take a look back over your clients, since I think everybody here is a hypnotherapist or mostly, you'll find that a lot of times the issues that they're coming into you to work with have to do with the fact that it's emotions that have created their perspective of life. So for instance, if they had abuse as a child, right? So emotionally, they're, having a lot of negative emotion and they're creating their perspective about the world or about other people, about their parents or whatever. So we want to help our clients to resolve that and come to a better alignment with reality and objectivity, and then those emotions will follow. So then when we're living our lives, that's how we can get more of an internal or a permanent happiness, right? By having those values and that philosophy in place to begin with. So, what we do in our work has to do with body, mind, and spirit, right? So body, mind, spirit didn't really say emotions, even though we're going to be working with emotions for the most part in our work. I think in my own view, the value is to build the body, the mind, and the spirit, and then the emotions will follow along and be more balanced. So in the words of Carl Jung, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Okay? All right, so one of the ways that we can go in and help people to become balanced in their body, mind, and spirit is through reverse metaphor. And so those people that have trained with me or read my books, you'll know reverse metaphor. I first published that, I developed it, and then I first published that technique in 2004 with my first textbook for hypnotherapy, which was called Hypnotherapy, a Client-Centered Approach. I was going to forget my title. Okay, so I've had 6 books, so some of that kind of, it's like having 6 children. Yeah. What are their names? I can't remember. Anyway, so it was first published in Hypnotherapy, a Client-Centered Approach. That has been replaced now. That one is out of print. And my newest book is Mastering Hypnotherapy, Transformational Strategies for Healers and Coaches. And I don't have enough copies with me today. They are sold out, but they're available on Amazon. Anyway, with reverse metaphor, this technique, and I've been teaching it for over 20 years, and people are learning it all over the world now because of my books. Instead of trying to write a script or make up a story and create metaphors like a lot of people are trained, I make the client do all the work. Okay, I think we should make this the easiest job on the planet and make them do the work, and we just ask really provocative questions. So with reverse metaphor, we ask the subconscious mind to create a story, a metaphor, a fantasy story that can deliver the message of the subconscious mind to the conscious mind. So the client will tell the story, and then and you just prompt them all the way through. And at the end, you go through and you interpret what the story is. And this way they can have a download without the critical factor interfering with that information from the higher self or the subconscious mind. And so with this technique, you can ask for almost anything, so you can make your client be their own psychic. So you can ask for answers to their issues, have deeper understanding of something they need to understand. You can ask them for the subconscious mind to tell your client or show them through the story what will happen into the future. Like if they make a certain decision, where is that going to lead them? The uses are just practically endless. And you can use reverse metaphor to help your clients going into past life regression as well. So if they're stuck doing regressions, they can do a reverse metaphor, and typically that will lead them right, into a past life if that is actually your goal. So the other, wonderful use of hypnotherapy is past life regression. And as many of you know, that's kind of my strong suit. I actually was doing past life regression before I became a hypnotherapist. And so when I was originally doing past life regression, it was a sightseeing tour, right? You'd take a person in. I didn't realize I was using hypnotherapy, but through visualization, I'd take them into a trance-like state. They would experience the past life, and we would come out, or they would come out of that story. When I got my clinical hypnotherapy certification, I realized the incredible power of adding hypnotherapy and NLP into that session. So now what we can do is go into the past life, and we can do a lot of healing, a lot of changing the effect of those lifetimes as they are affecting the client here. And so for an example, I need a little water. You want? As an example, I had a client, and this was years ago, and she was a recovering alcoholic, and so she was a young girl. She was about 18. She had been through a program, and she was clean, but she was living in, I guess you'd call it a halfway house or some kind of home with other women who were already, had also gone through the program, and so they were supporting each other. and her mother bought her a session with me. So I went and visited her, and we went into past lives. And so what she found was, we were looking for lifetimes that would help her to understand her addiction, her addiction to alcohol. And so what we found was there was a lifetime where she was a man, an adult man, married. And at some point in that lifetime, the wife died. And he was completely distraught, didn't know what to do with himself, and ended up drinking himself to death at the end of that lifetime. We went into a couple of other lifetimes where there were addiction issues. And again, we saw the same pattern that when there was a strong trauma in the lifetime, she or he, whoever it was in that past life, would turn to drugs or alcohol. Typically, it was alcohol in the ones that we explored. And so, without all the details, we talked about it at the end, and she just was like, wow, okay, I don't need to drink anymore. I understand. And what she had shared with me was she had started drinking at the age of 12, I think. And, so we talked about what had happened. And that was when her father left the family. So her father left, and it was so traumatic for her. And because of this background with other lifetimes, that was the MO. So she turned to alcohol even at that age. And so when I saw her, she had been an alcoholic for years. So usually I have two hands, but if you can imagine, this is a mirror image of this side, right? If you can imagine your soul like a diamond that has an infinite number of facets, because everybody has incarnated infinite numbers of times. There isn't you've had 7 lifetimes or anything like that. The universe, just our own plane, our universe on this plane has been around, for 13 billion years or something. We've had several lifetimes, all right, all of us. So anyway, if you think of your soul, each one of us, as a diamond with an infinite number of facets, each of those facets representing one of your lifetimes. So most people are living on one facet, right? Because they are completely unaware of all of these other facets. So imagine if your fiance comes to you with a diamond ring and says, honey, will you marry me? And gives you a diamond with one facet. Keep moving, right? No luster, no shine, no energy, no brilliance, all of those factors that would be a part of that diamond. Well, the same thing happens, and I don't want to dismiss everybody's lives, but we are living in a more restricted dimension if you don't know all the rest of that. All the rest of that will encompass, information about your purpose, about all the traumas you had, like my client with the alcoholism. You'll find wisdom that you've gained. Imagine all the wisdom that you've gained in this lifetime, all your experiences and wisdom. Well, that's going to be sitting there, but in your next life, if you're not looking at your past lives, all of this wisdom is just over there locked in the closet, right? And so all the wisdom that you've gained from all those other lifetimes is locked away from you right now. You can access talents. I've worked with musicians where, they've connected with their musical lifetimes and then brought that information, that mindset, that energy into this lifetime and really excelled, really ramped up their talents. The list goes on, but all of that, like who you are is all encompassed in this diamond. And so the more that we do the regression work to other lifetimes, the more we're accessing and connecting the dots and filling in those spaces. And that not only, it brings you that wisdom, it brings you that understanding of your purpose, the river of purpose that's moving through your whole, soul history, so that you know what you're supposed to be doing and why. But it also creates more mass in your energetic field, because right now that's all cut off from you. But when you know all these other lifetimes, there's energetic mass, and it's sort of like if your energy field is like Swiss cheese, it starts filling in and it becomes more solid. Okay, maybe that's a visual for you. But it gives you more stability in your life. So living on that one facet, it's easy to be more swayed by, whatever prevailing winds are happening. So if you think of it as, more roots that are connecting out there to more parts of who you are, and you also have this history of all the traumas that you've overcome, or all the challenges you've overcome, all of the successes you've had, the self-knowledge, all of that, then, when things are happening, it's not as big of a deal. I mean, we had COVID, just as an example, we had COVID and there were people just totally freaking out, right? And I'm thinking, don't you guys remember the bubonic plague? Don't you remember walking through the streets with piles of bodies? And so, let's just calm down here and take a look at what's really happening, right? And so we aren't as swayed, and because we can see it from a longer perspective. Okay, so we know that hypnotherapy is vital to health on all the levels, right? And you all are doing amazing work and really providing an incredible service to humanity out here in your circle of influence. So just have a little bit more to go, and then we're going to have a stage performance, I guess. But it is the new year. How are you guys doing on resolutions? Do you make resolutions? No, good. Neither do I. Resolutions require willpower, and I will admit that is not something I like to engage in. So again, instead of willpower, how I like to address my goals is by creating the value for that, instead of willpower, where I have to avoid sugar or something, whatever that goal is. I'd rather say my healthy body is valuable to me, or whatever that other positive goal is. And so thinking more of that positive thing than the willpower. So I don't go for resolutions. I just go back and make my list of values and try to align myself more clearly with them. So one of the easy ways that you can help your clients, if they are so inclined to do resolutions, is what I call, and this is just a simple exercise. And in this book, when I was writing this book, which was just this year, this one came out, I think, in June of 23. When I was writing this book, I was thinking about all the techniques we use and how I use them. And I came up with the term, the hypnotic envelope. And with that, and we're all doing it, but this is how I explain it, is when we go into the induction, and I have some steps, the safe space, the sacred space, some different steps. And then we come back out with what I do is role model, future pacing, and emerging. Right? So we have this envelope of this yummy trance state that we all love. And then in the therapeutic process with a client, then in the middle of that would be where I apply the therapy techniques. which are probably leaning towards NLP, but secondary gains, parts therapy, object imagery, role model, or not role model, chair therapy, inner child, reverse metaphor, past life regression, whatever we're going to do with the client. But it's within that model of the hypnotic envelope. And so what I thought I would do with all of you, does anybody here like going into trance? Yeah, right? It's the best. I'm going to take you through the hypnotic envelope. And that way, if, that's a learning experience for you and hopefully a really yummy experience at the same time, in case you want to, anyway, if you want to use it in your own practice. So just get in a comfy spot.
Sorry,
Okay, run. I'll get some water.
Maybe we could give out your books right
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's take a break. I'm going to give away 2 of my books for door prize, or what are you calling them?
now. A drawing.
A drawing. The drawing. Or do I have to pick it?
Well, I can. You want me to?
Don't pick mine. I was thinking, what if I win?
Okay, one. Okay, 1, 1, 2, 2, 0. 1, 2, 2, 0.
Or the last 3 is 220. Oh, there we go.
So who is that? Oh, great. Well, you're the
He
first
can-
one he can choose.
He can choose.
choices.
Yes.
You can eat my.
So this one is for, has more instruction for practitioners, and this one is more for the public. So more, just kind of more fun. So if you want to learn techniques, go with that one. And if you just want to learn information.
Okay.
All right. Techniques it is.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
And we have one more. And this one will be the more general past life regression book,
I'm gonna shake it up again.
Exploring Past Lives.
Okay, this one ends in 1, 2, 5, 7. 1, 2, 5, 7. Okay, wow, great.
Oh. Excellent.
Okay, you
Have
can go
fun.
ahead and continue your talk.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to go into trance. Don will just make his way back. So let's do a little trance work, huh? Okay. So closing your eyes, take a nice deep breath. Let's take one more nice deep breath. And as you exhale, just letting go of any tension in your body, letting go of any busy thoughts, just relaxing, turning your attention inward. And imagine a ball of light at your feet, glistening and shining and radiating. And that ball of light begins to move up along your body, gathering up the perceptions and the sensations, leaving behind a completely relaxed body. As it moves up across your legs and your lap, that ball of light moving up across your body now, your torso, balancing your energy, moving up across your throat, right up into the third eye, the center of your forehead, that ball of light energizing and radiating, expanding the third eye. And that ball of light shifts backward just a little ways to the center of your head in the area of the pineal gland. Pineal gland allows us to have that psychic, intuitive knowing. And the pineal gland is energized by this light, and the light radiating out from you, radiating out into your environment. It's shining. And as that continues to radiate and the third eye continues to expand, the energy flowing through from the subconscious to the conscious. I invite you now to imagine being in your favorite safe space, that place of relaxation, protection, and connection. And it may be a place that you have visited in this lifetime or a place that you go to in your imagination that allows you to feel free to be yourself. And exploring this safe space with the curiosity of a child, noticing what is there for you today. And as you explore, you realize that there is an object, a gift that has been left there for you from your higher self or your spirit guides. An object that will bring you special energy and characteristics that will be so valuable for you at this time in your life. And noticing what this object is, taking it into your hands, noticing the weight of it, the shape, the texture. And notice the energy and how it affects you. And if this object had a message for you today, what would it say to you? And if this were like a Harry Potter magical tool that you could use in your life moving forward, how would you implement this? When would you bring this out and use it? And this gift is for you forever. You can use it any time in your life. And for now, holding it and finding a place to relax for a meditation there in your safe space. And as you begin to go deeper and deeper into meditation, and as I count from 3 to 1, allowing yourself to be teleported to a sacred healing space, a place of dense energy that is there just for your healing and growth. 3, 2, 1. And as you find yourself in this sacred healing space, again, exploring with the curiosity of a child, what is there? How do you feel being there? And I want you to imagine laying your hands on something there just to ground you into this location. And then again, finding a place to relax into a meditation there in your sacred healing space. And as you meditate deeper and deeper, you begin to imagine a version of you that's standing in front of you. And that version of you is who you hope to be, who you are striving to be. Maybe they're a little more successful, a little more confident. Maybe they have better willpower. But they're achieving those goals that you're hoping to achieve And just notice what they look like. This is you. This is a you that is just as real as you are, but they are a little further down the timeline or in a close nearby parallel universe, that they are real and attainable. And so notice what they look like, what you notice about their energy or their movement, their stance. And as I count from 3 to 1, I want you to imagine slipping out of your body and into their body so that your feet are in their feet, your arms are in their arms, and you're looking out at the world through their eyes and their energy field. 3, 2, 1. And notice what it feels like to be in this future version of you, this new, improved version, the one that has attained these characteristics. Notice what it's like to move around in that body, the energy, the thought patterns. And now, as I count from 3 to 1, stepping back into your former self, the one that came into this room earlier today. 3, 2, 1. And noticing what it feels like to be in this more familiar, perhaps, perspective. Some people notice that it's either lighter or darker, or more expansive, more confined. Maybe the thought patterns are different. And now, as I count from 3 to 1, stepping back into that new, improved version of you, that desirable perspective. 3, 2, 1, stepping back in there. And again, noticing if it's lighter or darker, lighter or heavier, more expansive, more restricted, and any other attributes. And if you had if this new improved version of you had some words of wisdom to share with your former self, your present self, what would you want to say so that they could quickly and easily become this new desired version? And I'm going to leave you in this new version today so that you can practice it. I think earlier today we heard fake it till you make it. So you can stay in this new version of you with these attitudes, this energy, this outlook. And if you were to remain in this new improved version each and every moment of the future, how do you think tomorrow, the rest of this weekend, will be different than it would have been? And if you remain in this new improved version of you each and every moment of the future, how do you think life will be different in a week from now? What will you be doing differently? And if you remain in this new improved version of you each and every moment of the future, what do you think life will be like in a month from now? What will you have achieved? What will be new going on? So remembering all that you've experienced in this session and allowing the subconscious mind to continue to bring you insight, wisdom, and understanding in the days and weeks to come. As I count from 1 to 5, returning here to the present moment, refreshed, alert, and aware. 1, 2, 3, coming up. 4, aware of this time and space. And 5, fully alert and aware, and returned here to the present moment. So that's what I call the hypnotic envelope. So typically the center part, so we'd go in, so in the sacred, where I had you step into the new version of you, that would be one technique we can use. Typically, that would be part of the coming out. So between the sacred, within the sacred healing space and before the role model would be where we would interject all of the healing techniques, all the other techniques to accomplish the goal of the client. So how was that for you guys? Any feedback? Any, how did it go, Jim? Yeah? Did you get an empowerment symbol? That's an empowerment. So the gift at in the safe space, did you get a gift?
Oh, yeah.
You were pretty deep for a while. I saw that. Yeah, that's okay. Well, good. Anybody get an empowerment symbol, Chris?
Well, I did, and I still don't know what it means. I mean, it's kind of a strange little thing. It's like, I've never seen anything quite like it, and I don't know what to do with it. And it seemed to have, it's like, keep going the direction you're going, keep setting intentions and progressing towards them.
Okay.
It was an odd little thing.
Yeah. So could you sense any energy about it? Because sometimes it's the energy more than the message. So, and as a hypnotherapist, and this may or may not answer your question, but as a hypnotherapist, oftentimes during that first part, as we're going through the safe space, the sacred healing space, the empowerment symbol, all of that, because it's done in dialogue, the client is giving me feedback about every little detail, right? And I'm finding out so much that I can incorporate into the rest of the session. Either, oh, we need to work on this, or this empowerment, we can add in later in the session. Maybe during inner child, we can give that symbol to the child, or maybe they hold it when they're talking to a perpetrator during a chair therapy or something like that. So that can be used later. So I don't know, I can't actually answer that for you. But for instance, a client had come to me and she wanted to work on weight loss, right? So, my head is geared around weight loss, secondary gain sports therapy, object, the normal stuff. But when she got her gift, it was a rose quartz heart. And I said, what does that mean to you? What does it signify? And she said, it's self-love. And, I'm supposed to love myself. So I had to change gears, because obviously her higher self is saying, that's the step we need to take. If she was loving herself, she would be treating herself differently. And, and maybe we still need to do all the weight loss things later on, but for right now, we need to start. So a lot of times this beginning part of the session is telling me where I need to start, what's going to be the higher priority on the agenda of the process, based on what the gift is even, right? Or how they're describing their safe space, or the sacred healing space. And the reason I go to two places, not only are you going deeper and deeper, you're going into trance, then you're going into a meditation, then you're going into another meditation. So there's layers, embedded layers of trance, but we don't want to do the work in the safe space because the safe space is safe, right? We don't want to, bring the perpetrator in to have a conversation, in this place because we don't want to damage the energy that's there. So I take them to the sacred healing space, and that's where we're going to do the healing work, where we're going to get into the dirt, into the loamy part of the session. Okay, but I don't know, maybe meditate on it, or go back and think about how did it change you energetically? If it made you, sometimes they make you more confident or braver or whatever, more sensitive. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of those things.
Yeah.
I mean, my purpose.
Oh, okay. Well, then that could happen too. Right. Okay. So yeah, maybe it's less about the message and more about, the feeling and the characteristics that it brought to you. Awesome. Anybody else get, yeah, what did you get?
It was a iron ring,
Iron ring for those back there that can't hear you.
and I was in a cave,
Okay.
but it was the ring that held a chariot to the horses,
Wow.
and the horses were really pulling on it, but the chariot, it had the ring held them together.
Huh.
And then when it said something on it, it said, "Don't own anything here, make music."
Wow. Could you hear her back there? It was a ring that held the horses to the chariot, and it was inscribed with "Don't own anything, make music," or something like that, right? Wow.
So I'll have to think about
But imagine, so for me as a therapist, then, if you had described that to me, I would want to really go deeply into, okay, what do the horses represent? What is the chariot? How are they acting with each other? How is that interplay? And that would be a perfect segue into doing a reverse metaphor. So, you're in the safe space, you get this empowerment symbol. I would still take you to the sacred healing space. And then I would say, okay, you saw this horse and chariot and ring. And then we would go into a reverse metaphor where you would tell me a story about that. And then we would be able to elicit a whole lot more information and what you're supposed to do with it. Maybe there's some conflict that has to, maybe the horses are trying to move, the chariot isn't, or, whatever comes out of that story. And then we would be able to use that as the basis of a whole session. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't always happen at the, yeah, right? I have a poster back there with some events that I'm teaching. And at the bottom of it, yeah, you have one. At the bottom, there is a discount. So, yes, we can set that up. So how are we doing on time? Oh, okay. Any other questions about anything? That was really, well, what I did want to do is, as we get ready for the stage show, I'm so excited, right? I was just going to mention that years ago, well, over several occasions, I had the opportunity to meditate with Ram Dass and talk with him. And on one occasion was the last time I saw him. We actually got to swim in the Pacific off of Maui together. It was a group, but, and he was, obviously in a wheelchair and everything. And they wheeled him out into the water, and then he had life jackets. And so he floated, and we floated way out and did this ceremony. It was so beautiful. Was just such a precious soul. And so I wanted to share a quote from Ram Dass. And one of my favorite quotes from him is, "We're all just walking each other home." So that's what we're doing here. We're for each other as colleagues, and for our clients, we're helping to walk them home. So thank you.